Hello, students. Welcome to my channel. I have created this channel with the sole intention to help students, especially those who struggle in their academics, even though they put in much effort. And this channel is also designed for those parents who are much concerned about their students, their children's learning and academic performances. I will not only be working on teaching language proficiency, but besides that, this channel will also be helping you out understanding issues or things that actually hamper our students' academic excellence. So before I begin today, I would like you to subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell so whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be notified timely. So before I give you my introduction, let me introduce our topic for today. In any language, understanding is the very first step. And with understanding comes a certain testing, certain assessment criteria that help us, the teachers, understand the level of proficiency our students have achieved. Comprehension is one such test, and we will be exploring today how we can master comprehension. Now, before I start topic today, I have been teaching for the last 10 years now. I have worked in different schools and have worked with different levels, different grades students. And I have come to realization that our students struggle in their understanding, in their academics of not only languages, but other subjects as well, because their language foundations are not laid on a strong basis. Our students struggle because their language understanding always comes in the way of their learning, of their concepts clarity. That is the reason why our students fail to perform and why they consider education as a burden rather than a tool. So with this video, I would like to help you understand comprehensions, the very first thing, from the very first level. Remember one thing, we do comprehension so that we can understand how we can understand a particular text in English language, right? And in order to understand that, you need to be aware of different question types that you might have to answer in different subjects. Remember one thing, if you master this technique, you will see that your performances in other subjects will improve. So let's kick off. First, what is comprehension and why do we practice it? Remember, my dear students, before I start explaining, this slide is not exclusively about English language. You study business studies, you do studies of sociology, you do studies of history and geography, you come across many texts, either in the form of words and sentences or in the form of pictures, in the form of graphs. So you need to do one thing, and that is comprehension and how to do it and why do you do it. Comprehension is actually a kind of a text that is produced before you with a bunch of questions. You read the extract and you try to answer the questions. You try to identify the information that the questions ask. Why do we do comprehensions? Because we want to develop deep understanding of any particular text. Comprehension actually tests your ability to understand written text at a deeper level, right? This is what I told you moments back. Not just what it says, but what it means. And how do we identify that? How do we, the examiners, identify that you have understood such a text? We give you questions to answer. Number two, your comprehension can help you practice and achieve critical thinking, which is instrumental, which is the backbone in any professional line that you follow until you develop this skill. Your ability to have your presence felt, your ability to make your own space in any profession remains a big question mark. So these comprehensions will help you develop analytical skills you will use across every subject and in real world communication. And then you do comprehensions to understand beyond surface reading, to understand the meanings which are beyond surface reading. Surface reading is what simply you're reading the text pasted on a paper. But if you really want to understand something that the writer hasn't said clearly, but means it, This is what comprehensions are for. They help you extract meaning that isn't immediately obvious. This is the key to exam success. Let's move on. As I said, the very first step in order to understand your comprehension is to understand the types of the questions you might come across. In this series of lectures, there will be 6 episodes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We will work on each question type separately in separate videos so that the videos will remain watchable, will keep the time span of a watchable length, and you are not burdened. The very first question type that we will be working on is explicits. I answer directly from the passage. There is nothing you will have to do. All you have to do is to locate the relevant information and then copy it and paste it in the area given for your answer. We will see how it is done. But before we do that, can we figure out what explicit questions look like? Yes, we can figure it out, but that comes after you have gone through. I always ask my students to go through this step guideline. This is a very handy guideline for all the students to practice your comprehensions. Before I explain this thing, I want to clarify one thing. Majority of the parents, especially mothers I've come across, who say that their children do not practice languages because they say that the comprehension passages are unseen, so they don't practice anything. Actually, it's a misconception. You need to understand one thing, that the comprehension passages the students do in grade 6, grade 7, grade 8 come with a certain type of questions. If passages will definitely be unseen, but the question type is the one that your children should be practicing at home. All you have to do is to get a passage with the bunch of questions that they practice every year throughout the year, in their academic class. So you make them practice that. How does it go? This is what the guidelines is. First, students, you read the passage thoroughly. Please read the passage thoroughly. Do not jump onto the question paper directly. Once you read the passage thoroughly, you will have an overall idea of what the passage is about. Certain understanding develops while you read it, and then move on to the questions. While you do the questions, see step number 2, you always look for the keywords in the question. Every question gives you a hint. For instance, look at this one. Important indications. What does the writer do to impress the lady? See, the keywords here are impress the lady. So from line number 2 till 5, you are not going anywhere else. Okay, you will only be focusing your attention on line number 2 till 5, and you will only be looking for information that actually gives you ideas about impressing the lady. Once you have located, you look for the relevant information by doing close reading. This time you read these lines very closely, and once you have identified your answer, please do not copy entire sentences. I have millions of times come across answer scripts of my students who simply blindly copy the entire sentences without understanding whether those sentences answer the relevant question or not. And many a times I have crossed those answers with a very heavy heart. So, my dear students, all you have to do is to just identify the relevant information in a given space and then just write that relevant information down. Do not copy the entire sentences and do not write in your own words until you are asked. This will save you a lot of time. Now, let's come to how we can identify the questions if they are explicit. There are some command words that actually speak out loud that they are explicit. What are those command words? What, where, when. What is asking for information, where asking for location, when asking for time or moment. They can come in this way. Give 2 details. The 2 is just an example. It can be 3 details. Give 1 detail, something like that. All you have to do is just provide the detail in the exact wording of the passage. Or you can have a question that starts with find the word or identify something. In all of these questions, explicit information is required. Now, let's practice and we will see further. And if you have any questions, please leave your questions in the comment section below. I will try to address your questions and leave the FAQ video link in the description as well. Practice extract number 1. We are practicing explicit questions. We will read this passage just like the guidelines given above, two slides earlier, and then we will see what the questions have to say. Now, let's read it. The old bookshop stood quietly on the corner of the Maple Street. Its wooden shelves were packed with thousands of stories, each spine a different color. Sarah pushed open the creaking door and breathed in the familiar smell of aged paper and leather. The shopkeeper, Mr. Shen, looked up from his desk and smiled warmly. He had owned the shop for 30 years and knew every book by heart. This is the small extract that we did. Now see what the questions are. But before we do the questions, look at this orange box, students. Quick reminder, reread the relevant lines before answering. Keep answers focused, no full sentences copying, and check your answers make sense in context. Now let's do this. Use the extract on the previous card to answer these explicit questions. Remember, locate the relevant line, then write only the necessary information. Where is the bookshop located? How long has Mr. Shan owned the shop? What did Sarah smell when she entered? Now let's do. Where is the bookshop located? So we are asked about the location of this bookshop. Let's go back to the passage. The old bookshop stood quietly on the corner of Maple Street. Now see, there are certain indications that actually speaks about the location or the situation of any particular place or a person. In this case, it's the Maple Street, because nowhere else in this extract you will come across an address like situation. Okay. So what we will answer in the question number one, we will answer that the bookshop is located at the corner of the Maple Street. Right? Now, second question, how long has Mr. Shan owned the shop? Now, I would like you to pause the screen of this slide for a minute, for 30 seconds, and identify and find out the answer for yourself. That how long has he been the owner of this shop? I would like you to pause the video and then identify. And the answer is here. Mr. Shen looked up from his desk and smiled warmly. Do we have an answer? No. It does not say anything about how much time he has been the owner. He had owned. Here we go. Here is the key word, owned. There, the question owned. Here it is repeated, owned. He had owned the shop for 30 years. We will write only, Mr. Shan has owned the shop for 30 years. Did you notice one thing, students, that once you located the answer, you copied it exactly in here. This is what explicits are all about. You locate the answer, you copy it here. You don't have to do anything. Explicit answers means answers that are right straight in front of you. Let's look at the third question. What did Sarah smell when she entered the shop? Let's find out where is she entering the shop in this extract. Here we go. Sarah pushed open the creaking doors and breathed in. So when she pushed open the creaking door, that is an indication that she enters. So what is the question? What did she smell? So you smell through your nose. Nose is used for breathing. This is how you connect the dots. So she breathed in the familiar smell of aged paper and leather. In this answer, we will write Sarah smelled aged paper and leather when she entered the shop. This is how you answer the questions in explicit. Remember, students, believe me, once you locate your explicit questions in your questionnaire, it is a time-saving task to answer your explicits first. Let's do one more. This time it's going to be a little bit more challenging. The level of difficulty is a step or two up. Let's read this. The coastal village had thrived for centuries on fishing and trade. They have lived for centuries on fishing and trade. For your own convenience, I will be rereading certain sentences with meanings. But dear students, you have to work on your vocabulary, because while you sit down to do your comprehensions in your paper, you will not be offered vocabulary or dictionary. So you will have a certain level of understanding of vocabulary. And in order to practice understanding vocabulary in a given text, There are certain techniques used. I will be making videos on that as well. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. However, the construction of the new motorway bypassed the town entirely, redirecting commerce to larger cities. Local businesses began to close one by one. Oh my God, a problem comes. The community center, once bustling with activity, now stood half empty on weekends. Yet, some residents refused to accept the defeat. They launched a tourism initiative promoting the village's historic architecture and natural beauty. Within 2 years, visitors' numbers had tripled, and new cafes and galleries opened along the higher street. Not only this passage is a little longer than the previous one, but this one contains vocabulary that isn't as easier as the previous one. Let's look at the questions. Here we go. We have got 5 questions. This extract mixes explicit and implicit cues. Identify which type question requires before you write your answers. So we are only focusing on our explicit, so let's find out. What two factors originally made the village prosperous? Here the word prosperous. This is where the challenge lies. So when you move up your grade, not only your level of understanding of a language should go up, but examiners also use texts with a more challenging vocabulary, because moving up in your grades definitely means that you are availing, you're achieving excellence, your academics, and now it's time for you to struggle more and move to a higher level. So prosperous means thrive. Thrive means grow or developed. So let's see what two factors the village originally grew on. All right, here is the thing. The coastal village had thrived for centuries on fishing and trade. Here is the answer. The keyword has its synonym here in thrived. Okay, so the first answer goes, if you even if you write fishing and trade like this, fishing and trade. If you write only fishing and trade, your answer would be accepted. Why did local business begin to close? Begin to close. Here we go. We saw something. The businesses began to close one by one. The businesses are closing one by one. Definitely something must have happened beforehand. So let's go to the previous sentence. The construction of the new motorway bypassed the town. So it was the construction of the new motorway that bypassed the town directly, that actually caused the businesses to close. This is what we will write. Why did the local businesses begin to close? Because of a new bypassing motorway that connect the businesses to the larger cities. It was written in the passage. Let's move on to the next question. This time we are going to work on a new command word. Give two details about how the community responded to the challenge. Let's move. Some of the people were refused to accept the defeat. So what they do? Two ways they took the challenge. Number one, they started tourism initiative, right? And number two, they started showing off their historical architecture, and they developed new cafes and galleries. So it was a tourism initiative promoting the village's historic architecture and natural beauty. And secondly, it was new cafes and galleries opened along the high street. These were the two ways the community responded to the challenge. What evidence shows the tourism initiative was successful? How was the tourism successful? See, within 2 years, visitors' number had tripled. You can simply write visitors' numbers had tripled in just 2 years. Answers done. Identify one way the village's character changed. Now, here the answer may not be straight. See, earlier they used to be the people of fishing and trade. Now the people became the people of tourism, cafe owners, and galleries. They opened galleries and they became cafe owners and they started promoting tourism. So this is how the people village's character changed from being the fishermen and traders to become the tourism business owners and owners of cafes and galleries. This is how it's done. Now, this time it's going to be a third passage, and this time the difficulty level it would even be more. And now, my dear students, I will not be working on answering the questions. I want you to pause the video and see for yourself, read for yourself, and answer these questions, right? I want you to write their answers in the comment section below, and then I will be answering individually to all of your answers. I promise that. And good luck for that reading, and subscribe so that your newer videos will be you will be notified about the newer videos. Stay tuned because I'll be working on all these other type question types as well. Thank you.